This will be a pretty quick, well, I've said that before, a quick live stream. Woo, Trump 2024 on a truck. Man, that's a big ass flag for that little truck. All right, well, he's proud. Um, wow, the more I hear about this hurricane response, this pitiful example, I can't even compute this shit. You know, they peed on George Bush because of Hurricane Katrina, and the response was not great, I'll tell you that. But there also was some politics, because the way FEMA's integrated command system works, and I had to go through a bunch of these classes as well, the feds won't put assets into the state unless the state requests it, right? So it starts at the local, the city, county, then the state level, then the feds, and each has to request assistance from the other. But my recollection is that the North Carolina governor asked for assistance like before the storm hit, like, hey, we're probably going to need help here. So they should have had assets in the area. I can't understand how literally earlier this week we announced we're sending whatever many millions to Israel and we're sending millions to Ukraine. Hey, Coffee, thanks as always for hopping in. We're sending all this money to Ukraine and Israel. And granted, those are important things. And then FEMA's running out of money. But FEMA, earlier this year, if you look at NBC, spent $20 million of FEMA money to create a reception center for the asylum seekers, the illegal migrants who showed up at the border and said, I want to stay here. Hey, Scott. And look, I'm all about being sympathetic to people who are running away from bad problems in other countries, right? My Costco ran out of toilet paper right when it opened this morning. So our Sam's, so when we saw the dock worker strike, this was before everyone realized how bad the hurricane response was going to be. My wife was like, oh, I'll just buy one pack of toilet paper because it's only two of us, right? So like one pack of potty paper from Sam's lasts us like 3 months. So we're like, okay, that's fine. So we ordered one, and she couldn't pick it up at the store. They had to ship it to us. And this was before the strike happened. And we went to Sam's and Walmart. I went to Walmart last night, and the Walmart was wiped out. Don't break the law to get here. Zero respect. No, none yet. And to be fair, I know there are people who are victims of trafficking. I have friends who are like amazing people, like geologists, engineers, like the kind of folks you want in a country. And they got thrown in jail in Venezuela and Cuba, and they came here. But you and I, we all know that a lot of these guys are freaking felons and rapists and shit. They basically emptied their prisons and told them you can't stay here, and they just came to America. And now they're attacking our people. I can't confirm any of what I'm hearing regarding North Carolina, Asheville in particular, and Charlotte. I'm hearing that a vehicle full of migrants went up to a food bank, basically came out, grabbed what they could, and ran away. And they took off when a neighbor came out with a 12 gauge and they ran off. I don't know if that's for real. It could all be scuttlebutt. I haven't been able to reach my nephew. He's a firefighter in the state. I know he just worked 72 hours straight. When I did get a hold of him, he was done. Like he was totally gassed. He said his search and rescue team was trying to get some rest, and they were headed back west because they have a water rescue team. The drone pilots, one of their drone pilots, had just come in to recharge everything, and another guy went out. I don't know. Hey, Winning Streak. Hey, Coffee. Hey, Dan. Out of TP and Paper 12 hours ago. Thanks, Coffee. I appreciate that. I couldn't watch the chat. I didn't want to like take my eyes off the road and, you know, have an accident on a live stream. That would suck. But we're hearing it's bad. Now, Angry Prepper, hey, Red October, Angry Prepper put some footage out. And you know that those of you familiar with railroads, when they build the train tracks, even if they're near a river, like they build them up 8 to 10 feet high. They compress the ground. They put like the rocks to reinforce it and prevent erosion. Like, it's designed to withstand flooding. And if you see Angry Prepper's video, I don't remember if it was yesterday's or today's, the railroad had been washed into the river, completely washed into the river. And that's bad because it's designed to not do that, especially if they put the railroad by the river in the first place. It's like they knew, oh yeah, you know what? This would probably be a bad thing to have happen. So I just can't compute how this has become such an epic cluster. But yeah, I'm hearing people are going into the hospitals and taking the food and walking out with it. It's going to be a mess. I really feel for these folks. And yeah, exactly. It won't stay still if everything washes out underneath it. It's going down. Hey, Oki, what's going on? Hey, Winning Streak. Now, during Harvey, it's funny because, you know, I lived in like it was bougie. They thought they were bougie. There were a lot of trust fund people. And then about a third of the community were people like me who grew up like with nothing and busted our ass to get a nice house. And it was well known. People would see me going in and out with like my over under on my shoulder, and people were like, yeah, this guy got guns, don't fuck with him. When the lights went out, my neighbors were like, oh, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Like, what if they start, because we had break-ins during Harvey, what if they kick in our door and the cops don't get, because all the cops were like assigned to other shit. And I just went to my wife, my oldest son. My daughter had moved out, but my oldest son was 18. And I'm like, here's the 20 gauge, here's shells. Keep it upstairs. You know how to use it. Don't shoot yourself or your brother by accident. And if we have a break-in and I'm not here, there was one stairwell to the second floor. You just wait at the top of the stairwell, and anybody who comes up, you plink them and they will go back down and fall on the person behind them. And more than likely, you'll have very easy shots from that point on. But people were like, oh, well, the police response is 40 minutes. Well, yeah, the city's fucked up. Like, what were you expecting? I can't even compute what happened there, because at least our police station or constable got flooded, but the nearby church, the pastor was a friend of the sheriff. And so the constable called the chaplain and said, hey, can we set up at the church? And they said yes. So the church gym was a shelter for families, and the church, you know, not the communion area, good Lord, the common area, like where you greet the new guests and I forgot the word for it. Basically the community area, they set up police headquarters there. Hey, Nene. And it worked out really well. They moved their whole station basically to the church, which was not a mile away, which was ironic. It was not even a mile away from the police station, and they were able to get set up rather quickly, and you know, they were able to function. But hey, Tennessee, what's going on? But this kind of situation is what happened in Beaumont after Harvey. The National Guard and Red Cross and some other charities had a convoy going from Houston to Beaumont, and they actually got cut off by people with pickup trucks and shotguns. And the guys in the LMTVs, you know, it's a bulletproof vehicle, certainly from a shotgun, and they're like, you know what, screw you guys. They turned the whole convoy around and went home, which is terrible because there were families waiting for food and support, and because of one group of 6 assholes, the convoy went home. They had to wait for MPs from Fort Hood and Border Patrol from El Paso to make their way to Houston, which is not a short trip. El Paso to Houston's about, let me see, 15-hour drive. So by the time those guys got here or to Houston, you know, a good 2 days went by the time they got backstage. They got briefed, got their gear put together, and they went out to protect the other the second convoy that went out. And in the meantime, for 2 days, people were struggling. They were looting. I'm hearing reports of looting now in North Carolina. I'm not hearing it as bad in Tennessee and Georgia, but again, I'm hearing mixed info, and I don't know what's valid. I can't really speak to it, but this really speaks to how you need to not only have your preps, you need to have an ability to protect yourself, because people may come, and if people get desperate, they're going to get ugly. I will tell you that right now. We saw it during Harvey, and hell, we see it during Christmas. Yeah, Winning Streak, feel free, any of the mods that have an active channel that they're creating content, like Tennessee, throw their link out there. Yeah, mods are always welcome to throw each other's, the other mods on the chat. You know, it's concerning. It's definitely scary. But this speaks to why you need to have your preps. This is a uniquely bad situation. You think about it, because these houses were destroyed. These houses were obliterated. So even if you had property and you had, you know, preps maybe in an outbuilding or in a storage center, the whole building's covered in mud. Like, it's gonna be a challenge. It's gonna be dangerous. There are a lot of lessons the rest of us can learn from what's going on there. I need to get a hold of my nephew. My sister's in Carolina as well. I know she's okay. They had some roof damage from the wind. FEMA needs to be brought in. Yeah. But how did they run out of money? How the flipping hell do we have billions to send to Ukraine? $1 billion to North Carolina would have plenty of assets. God, you could get private companies to go out there and do a better job than FEMA. Take 1 billion of that money and say, you know what? Okay, you call, I don't know, I'm throwing names out here, right? You tell Exxon, I want a convoy of fuel trucks from Texas to go to North Carolina to fuel the first responders. With $1 billion, you know, United Airlines, you're going to reserve 2 737s, and you're going to transport rescue people from all over the country to North Carolina, right? The $2 billion states to come and assist without having to break any state's budget. But no, let's not do that. Let's spend 20 million on people who shouldn't fucking be here, while a bunch of our fellow citizens are dying right now. Now, there was one report in the news that apparently they're finding deceased individuals in the trees, because the water was so high that whatever was caught in the water. So they're finding tires in the trees, they're finding car parts in the trees, and they're finding cadavers in the trees. So to me, that blows my mind. Like, this has got to be, I mean, this is as close to an apocalypse as one can imagine. And, oh, here's your $750. Really? Scott, absolutely. I believe that they sent our tax money. Well, they're not sending money over there. What they're doing is they're giving the money to companies here. The companies are sending whatever the hell assets over there. And I promise you, those same companies from this industrial, military, congressional complex are then going to turn around and donate to the very politicians who gave them that money. And that pisses me off. That pisses me to hell off. And yeah, I can't even compute some of this shit. And again, I got family among the responders who are telling me it's bad. He said, I can't even talk about it now, it's so bad. And keep in mind, my family's been military or a responder since like 1914, 1915, right? The whole family is full of cops and firefighters and EMTs and military types. And when they're telling me, man, you need to stay at home, you have to leave. Like, my brother and I, he's on the coast. I'm here. I can get tornadoes and massive hailstorms. He can get hurricanes. So it's like, okay, you get slammed, you head my way. If I get slammed, I head your way. My daughter's on the West Coast. I got my sister. Well, my sister's in a zone now. We all kind of have this agreement. Grab all your preps, whatever the hell you can, throw it in your cars and go. Coffee, I've heard that, but then at the same time, Angry Prepper is there with, what is it, Grindstone Bear Independence Group, Grindstone Ministries, and they were able to find a place, but I don't know if they're in North Carolina or Tennessee. And keep in mind, part of the reason they may limit volunteers is because they don't have the capacity to background check volunteers. So they don't want to just have a volunteer show up, I volunteer, and the guy's a rapist, and now he's in the shelter with the other people. Hey, ban everything. Yeah, the incompetence is amazing. And there's no excuse for it, because like Harvey was bad, and Harvey lasted a week. It just sat there and tore up everything. And our response after the lessons of Katrina was an amazing response, considering how many people were affected. And we were still able to we had people in place. We had advanced teams already in station when the hurricane hit. And then here we are a few years later, and they've completely dropped the ball in North Carolina. Florida is doing well. I mean, they've got a lot of damage, but Florida's, in any case, hey, Chacha, hey, Rebecca, take the time, make sure you have what you need. You may want to talk to your neighbors if you have friends in the community and say, hey, if your house gets hit, send your kids here. They can stay with my kids or my family. Hell, even if somebody's house gets damaged, Pinball said he and anyone trying to stop people and telling them to drop off supplies at their place are trying to steal. Wait, what? I didn't read that right. In Tennessee, no problems. Pinball Preparedness said. He said anyone trying to stop people and telling them to drop off supplies at their place is trying to steal. Yeah, and this is the bad thing, is a lot of people want to help, and this is an amazing time for people to commit fraud. You're going to see all sorts of GoFundMe for this person or that person, and I promise you, I've seen YouTubers do this where they'll be like, oh, I'm going to raise money for this person or that person, and not all the YouTubers do this, but I've seen several, some who are not small creators, not Pinball seems legit, but other creators, one thing or another, and kept the money, and or it didn't go where it was supposed to, and that's why I might pass on a link, but I've often told people I don't endorse it. I can't speak for this. I'm just sharing. Cha-cha, really? It's funny because 4-6 Louisiana was damaged by Hurricane Laura, and my sister in central Louisiana. I was in Louisiana when Lily hit, and there was another one that hit. And I knew I was screwed because Jim Cantore showed up in Lafayette. I lived in Lafayette, Louisiana, or outside of Lafayette. And I was like, oh, man, every time he shows up, that's where the hurricane goes. And sure enough, the hurricane hit us. I'll tell you what, though, we had a party. Like, if you're going to be in a hurricane, Louisiana is where you want to be. I never seen so much meat and seafood get cooked so quickly in one 48-hour period. We were drunk for like 12 hours. And I mean, everyone's walking around with a pistol on their belt. Nobody cared. The kids were running, dogs were running. But you know what? I'll tell you what, nobody came to loot that little subdivision in the middle of the country because everyone knew who belonged there on that street. And the sheriff would come by every like 6 hours and y'all good? Yes, sir. Nobody shooting anything? No, sir. All right, don't drive. Y'all are drunk. Yes, sir. And he'd mosey on, and then he'd come back like 6 hours later and check in on us. Hey, Red Dawn, what's going on? Now's a great time to evaluate your area. Where would you go if you have to? Connection here, folks, so I'm going to call this one. In any case, you guys be safe, evaluate your situation, pay close attention to what's going on, because this may be a great opportunity to see where you have some gaps that you may not have thought of before. So I'm losing connection where I'm at, so you guys be safe out there, be careful, help each other out, and I will see you guys later on this week. You guys take care.